Hi, how's it going everyone? Greg Hackett here. I thought I'd tell you a little bit about this car. This is the Knight Rider tour car that toured Australia and New Zealand back in the 1980s. And I'm lucky enough to have this car at the moment and have in fact preserved it. And if you want to check out a bit more information about the preservation of this vehicle, have a look at the Knight Rider Historian's YouTube channel and you'll find a link to the video on the restoration of this car. We are working on another video on the tour cars, this one and the other 5 that toured around the world back in the 80s. Unfortunately, that video is not quite ready, and with the lockdown, it's sort of been held up a bit as we are waiting for our video producer to finish off his last bit of filming for it, which we had to push pause on. So hopefully we can get through this lockdown and have that video out to you within the next few months. In the meantime though, let's have a quick look at this car. So this is a 1982 Pontiac Trans Am. Just to look at the wheels for a minute. So these are 15-inch turbo cast rims. The BF Goodrich tyres on it are actually original 1980s tyres, and the tour cars all had these BF Goodrich tyres on them because I believe BF Goodrich was a sponsor of the tour cars at the time and was involved in the tour. So if you see original looking cars with these tyres on it, chances are that they are tour cars or they were toured. So looking at this car, it is actually originally was actually a hard top. You can see the aftermarket T-tops were added, presumably for the purposes of making it into a tour car. The car itself's only done about 16,000 miles because it hasn't been driven at all since it was a tour car. Quick look around the front of it. It's obviously got the Knight Rider scanner, and if we open up the hood, it has a very stock looking 305 engine, V8 engine. The air conditioning has been removed primarily because it was becoming a maintenance issue and was no longer functional. So the car is pretty much untouched. The only thing that's been done to it is the servicing of the oil, transmission, coolant has been done. The factory air cleaner has been restored to it thanks to Joe Huth, and supplied that to me. So that's really appreciated. It's put it back to how it was when it was touring. It had an aftermarket one fitted, which has been removed. So looking at the car itself, this tour car is quite unique in the fact that it's really largely complete. The only other tour car that I think is complete as this one that we know of is the one that's in the Diesel Museum in Miami, which is also very complete. Now if you know anything about the tour cars, you'll realise that the dashboard in these was built by a gentleman called Carl Casper, or Carl Casper's company, who had the contract for Universal Studios to build these tour cars. So essentially all the parts you see in here are all manufactured by Carl Casper and his team, and interestingly enough using the original molds from the TV show. So Universal Studios allowed Carl Casper to use some of the molds, and this dashboard mold is actually a season 1 dash over dash mold. So everything you see here, or this dashboard you see here, is the same, exactly the same as what the screen used cars would have had in them as well, or certainly the Hero car with the dashboard in it would have had the same dash as this one. The pod buttons are non-functional, they're just pieces of acrylic stuck on. They don't actually do anything. But what I have been able to do is, as these were damaged when I got the car, I managed to recreate them using photos and videos of the original car. So the colour scheme and even the labels on them are as accurate as I can get to the original pod buttons as they would have been in the 1980s. The other side. The steering wheel, or gull wing, is a Michael Chaffee original mould. And if you look at the Historian's YouTube channel, you'll find Joe Huth has put a fantastic video together on these gull wings and the history of them, and also talked about the tour car gull wings. And you'll note that it's got the knight's head, which is all part of the moulding. To attach the gull wing, you simply bolt it onto the steering column through this access hole here. Nice convenient plug to go over it to cover up the hole. Stick it back in again. We'll take a look at the upper console. Once again, absolutely not functional, but it looks good. It is, I believe, moulded off a Season 2 console. Once again, using universal moulds. And the centre console is also a Season 2 moulded centre console from the original universal mould. To turn on this tour car, there is 2 switches here which I'll activate, and they effectively turn on the dashboard and the front scanner. So here we go, the dashboard's now lit. The thing to note with these tour cars is the dashboard is absolutely non-functional. So that car was designed to sit in a shopping mall or at a car dealership or a show, and it literally had a power supply which plugged into the mains power supply and powered the car while it was on display. So there was no need for any of this stuff to actually do anything or work. And even these buttons here are also lit up as well. You can just see the red reflection. The monitors are twin CRT TVs. The only functional monitor is the one on the right. The one on the left is a non-functional dummy. And once again, this is exactly as the tour car was when it toured in the 80s. You can just see that monitor coming on now. Because they're cathode ray tubes, they do take a while to warm up. But through this monitor you can play videos and whatever you want to do. It's a little bit unclear what these monitors were used for during the touring. From the videos I've seen, possibly they showed the show, or they had a video camera set up so you could see yourself in the car on the monitor. Once again, I can't recall that detail as I was only about 10 when I sat in this car. So, having a look at the voice box. The tour cars had a tape deck in them which played a soundtrack of William Daniels or KITT talking, and this car has still got that track. Here it is here. See the voice box operating to the sound. It's got a little circuit in there that basically operates the LEDs and makes it flash, and that's in sync with whatever's going on through the audio channel. So in a second you'll hear KITT start talking. Takes a while to run through the couple of verses of the theme.
I'm KITT, a creation of Night Industries for the exciting and action-filled NBC television series Knight Rider.
Right, enough of that. So anyway, that just rolls on, and with KITT explaining his functions and all the very important stuff that you needed to know when you were looking at this car in the 80s. So you see the screen now is actually fully active, fully operational, and it's actually currently plugged into a DVD player, so you can essentially watch Knight Rider on the screen, which is really cool. So I'll look outside the car again. And you'll note the scanner is now operational. There we go. Very cool. And a few other additional details. The seats in this car are vinyl, which is what the tour car originally had back in the 80s during the touring days. The windows are crank windows, and as you can see, it's got tan interior throughout. We'll just go have a look around the back of the car. Tail lights and tail light blackout. Excellent. Well, thanks for looking at this video, and make sure you check out the Knight Rider Historian's web page if you haven't already. like that page, keep an eye on the videos. There will be a video coming out, as I mentioned earlier, on these tour cars, and not just this one, but all of them, and more importantly what's happened to them, or the ones that we can track down anyway. So thanks for watching, and I'd like to acknowledge the good work that Joe Huth and AJ Palmgreen have done with the historians in terms of preserving Night Rider history, and if it wasn't for those guys, this car also wouldn't be saved. So thanks very much to those guys, and yeah, we'll catch you all later.